Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I hope that you can see me. The tech has been a little bit iffy today, but I think we're all here. I'm so glad that you are here to talk about sports, student athletes who have stress, and just how, as a parent, you can support them. But just as a reminder, this is Parent Chat that we are doing monthly just to bring you, parents, mental health resources and information. And tonight we have a hybrid. We have a group who are at Oneida High School. Hi, everyone. And we're so glad that you've come together as a community to watch together so that you can continue the discussion afterwards. So welcome. And I'm so glad that you took the time to put that community event together. Tonight is a very special guest that we have. We're, the few times that I've been able to talk to him, we're just laughing and having fun. This guy is going to make sure that we learn so much tonight, and he's just a pleasure to be around. So I'm so happy to have him here. Dr. Smith, I'd love to welcome you on screen, and let's just get started.
Hello, 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 everyone. What up, what up? Miss Sherry, thanks for having me. Juanita in the building. I hear y'all. Okay.
We're excited to be here. So I have so many questions. And whenever I'm asking, talking to you, I'm like firing questions at you because first of all, I'm just amazed to be in the presence of a former Seahawk player, right? I mean, that is awesome. And while we might be like, praising you for this, it wasn't an easy journey. It's not like you just snap your fingers and you're there. You got a long journey to that Super Bowl, right?
Indeed.
So let's talk about your sports journey, because the parents who are on here tonight have kids, right, who are on their own sports journey.
Oh man, like you said, it is a unique process in itself, man. First things first, I am an Army brat. Was born in Berlin, Germany, and grew up in the great state of Texas, where I learned how to play ball. And fast forward to basically through high school years, I got the chance to really get some real home Cajun food in Louisiana. So I spent 4 years there, and I got the opportunity to play Division I football at Louisiana Tech University. And that was a great 4 years. And then luckily for me, I think I was the first person in almost 20 years to get drafted from Louisiana Tech in the third round. Went to Jacksonville Jaguars. It really learned down there, right? Learned how to be a professional in Jacksonville. So I was there for 3 years. Then I got the opportunity to get traded to a good team. Most people don't get the opportunity to get traded to a good team. And I got the opportunity to get traded here to Seattle. The city was amazing. It's the polar opposite of Jacksonville. And while I was here, I got an opportunity to win a Super Bowl and lose a Super Bowl. I know a lot of people say there's no such thing as losing. There's no such thing as losing, just learning experiences. But when you lose on the first, what should I say, the goal line, that sticks to you a little bit. So that's definitely an L. I don't know what learning I got from it. It was definitely an L.
Yeah, as you mentioned that, a lot of us can feel that moment again. Yeah, we're right there with you.
Indeed, I got a feeling, but yes, it was a unique moment.
Yeah. So was football something that you felt like it was your passion, you really wanted to do? Like, how did you, because it takes a lot of passion to keep up with it, because it's a hard sport, right?
Right. I mean, in all honesty, man, I was a hooper. I hooped my whole second grade, third grade, fourth grade. And then one year, my mom decided she wanted me to go spend the summer with my cousins and my grandma in the country, Mississippi. Hey, I gained 30 pounds over the course of that summer, and basketball has been my second sport ever since.
Yeah. So you came back and you're like, yeah, I'm changing it up.
The coaches tried to put me in the paint, and I was like, no, I'm not playing on the post. In my mind, I was a point guard. So nah, I had to go play a different sport, and then football.
Right. Awesome. All right. So you were Super Bowl champion, and then what was your next step? Like, you're now Dr. Smith, you're an expert in sports psychology. And as we were talking about before we came on, in adolescent sports psychology is kind of a forte of yours. How did you take that leap and why?
Man. Okay. So first things first, there's this role on every NFL team. It's called a player development director. And that person basically acts as a counselor for the athletes in the facility. And for me, I always knew I wanted to do something after the game. The game wasn't really everything I wanted to do. There's some players out there who just love the game. That was not me. I was like, I need to do something else with my life other than just play sports. And so I got introduced to that role, and I said, you know what, I want to do that for a living one day. And so I went to college. I'd already had a degree in psychology. And to be honest with you, the reason why I went and got a degree in psychology, because I didn't know who I could turn to during my high school years for this. No knock against school counselors, but my school counselor wasn't the best. So I didn't really know who to turn to. I was not turning to a coach. That's not happening. Nah, my coaches were like frat brothers. Nah, it's not happening. You know, so no, you laugh about emotions, but you keep it going with that group. My teammates, they was in the same boat as I. And so for that, I didn't know, hey, God, you ever felt this way? That wasn't happening in 2006. Yes.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even thought about it in 2006. But yes, at that time, it was a unique time for me, because I'm like, okay, if no one's going to help me with it, I'm going to go try to figure it out on my own. And so that's how I fell into this world of sports psychology. Well, psychology.
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic. So when you say it, you said when I felt it, or when that happened. So what kinds of things were in there that you feel like people who are competitive athletes, things that come up for them that they do need support with?
Oh, that's a good one. So for the most part, I mean, what age range we're talking about? High school, right? Stay in that ballpark?
Yeah, let's talk about high school. And I know some of that trickles down too.
100%. I can go into a whole peer-reviewed article of that if I wanted to, but I like to keep it at my athlete's level, because that's when I am an athlete at heart, right? And it all boils down to this concept of identity, you know? At this particular age range, we're trying to figure out who we are. Now, we are athletes. Some people out there, military people, for some odd reason, when it comes to athletes, they always try to make us find, dare I say, a plan B. That's tough for a lot of athletes to sit there and tell them, hey, don't worry about your dream, squash that. You need to focus on this. So when it comes to my athletes, one of the biggest things I tell them to do is enhance your hustle. What does that mean? They have to enhance their plan A. If your plan A is to go be a world-renowned superstar athlete, you have to learn something, business, finance, something that's going to keep you at the top of the game. Because when you get there, I'm not saying go get an MBA or anything like that, but you have to know how to balance a checkbook. Yes, I said it. You know, stuff like that. Financial literacy is amazing, you know, so that's where we're at right now. Definitely with this younger generation, should I say. These kids, oh my goodness, you guys are exposed to way more than anybody before.
Yes.
So as a result of that, you guys are playing that comparison game at a way younger rate. I didn't know anything about the NFL until I got to the NFL. You guys already know 40 times you need to have to get there, how many the playbooks and all of that. So let's see, once again, it's a wild situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And the whole identity thing, if we're talking about adolescence, right? So like when they hit middle school, that's where they are in their psychological journey, as they're trying to figure out, who am I in this world? And so if they are an athlete, let's say they play soccer, and then something happens to them and they can't play soccer, then who are they? Right?
Yes.
That's a big one.
Well said. Look, I like to call myself a third-year rookie. Okay. I don't know. I didn't get an opportunity to play sports due to injuries until my third year in the NFL. So I'm going into it like a rookie, and they're expecting me to play like a third-year player. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know what to do in this game anymore. That's how long I was away from it, competitive-wise. So during that time, I'm dead honest with you, I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing with my life at the age of 21 to 22, right? So I can only imagine what a young adolescent athlete is doing at the age of 13, 14, 15, dealing with injuries, an ACL injury. I deal with those. I see those a lot now. Guys going through an ACL or girls going through an ACL injury. They don't know what's next. Their time is running out quickly because it's high school. So I think I learned how to empathize by putting myself in those high school kids' shoes.
Yeah. Which I think that's important for parents to do too, when they know, because it's always loving and compassionate parents that are pushing their kids forward in athletics, right? Because they see that their kids have that dream.
Right.
So they're like, I'm going to help you to get to that dream. And forget about some of the psychological pieces of it. It's not just get grit, be, persevere. There's more to it, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And if we go down even younger to those athletes, one of my daughters, when she was, I think, 5, she was doing gymnastics, not like the top of the top, but they invited her to be on this team that was going to practice 6 to 9 hours a week. We ended up saying no to that, but for the kids who say yes to that, their identity, even at 5 and 6, is already like, here, you are the gymnast. That's what you're doing.
100%. Right. And some kids take that in. They embrace it. I am a gymnast. And there's some who are looking at the back like, whoa, I'm not as good as this. I don't think I really want to be in it like that. They're battling that as well. So that idea of really exploring, getting the opportunity to try new things. That's what I was able to do when I got into the league. Now, when I was in high school, I was one track minded. I'm like, I have to get out of where I was at. If you guys ever hear of Leesville, Louisiana, just avoid it at all costs. Okay? Do not go to Leesville. Right?
You're like, I am getting out of here one way or the other. Yes, this is my way.
I will send for you guys later, but I gotta go. So that was that situation with me. And so for me, it was like, okay, it's your identity, but it's a positive way because you went to school to build onto it. And so when we're dealing with adolescents, yes, if the first thing mom or daddy says good job to, that's the thing they're gonna, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be. Well, 3 years later, it's no longer a good job, it's more so come on. And that changed the kid. Let's be honest here. The kid is looking like, wait, you were just cheering me on, giving me orange slices 2 years ago. Now it's serious. Wait a minute, what happened? And that's what the disconnect happens. The athletes' parents get more, or should I say, they become competitive faster than the athlete does.
Yeah, we've all heard about the people on the sidelines at baseball and stuff where they're yelling and screaming at the umps. And I think those are probably the parents you might be referring to a little bit there. Yeah. But I love what you just brought up, because I've actually, with a couple of my own clients, I've heard this where they were really into something. So let's say tennis, and their parents stepped in, we're going to support you all the way. But the parents got so excited about it and so competitive that the kids are like, wait a second, this isn't my thing anymore. This is now my parents' thing. So what advice do you have for parents who, are getting excited for their kids, understandably?
Right. I mean, well, tennis is its own unique thing. That UTR ranking is a whole nother level, right? But outside of that's aspect, once again, they're adolescents. They're still learning about who they are. They're still understanding the concept of emotional support. We want to support them, but they don't know, hey, I promise you, if you go ask your kid, hey, what's the best way I can support you? They're going to say, I don't know. They're going to hit you with the IDK with the quickness, right? And so as a result of that, we got to provide a platform for them to really start to develop emotional intelligence, social intelligence, other interpersonal related skills. And I promise you, I haven't yet to see a coach to say, hey guys, we're going to go work on this stuff in the off season. We're going to work on building you up as a player in the off season. No, most athletes and coaches are performance driven. They want to get that performance up. We'll worry about the personal stuff later.
But what happens if with our kids, if we only focus on that performance stuff and not the emotional piece?
You get a kid that burns out, because it comes a time where they can no longer please you. They've already been comparing themselves to the people in their groups. And if they're at the back of that group, it's no longer fun for them anymore. Money sports like tennis, golf, they get away from the paying part to go play in high school. High school's free. I can play with my friends, right? Mom, you don't have to control this. It's high school. So you see that happen a lot.
Yeah. And I want to come back to something you mentioned, which I think as our kids are developing their identity, whether, maybe it is as the competitive athlete, right? Maybe they're heading to college sports, or they've got their eyes set on the NFL. But you mentioned having that plan A enhancement package, so to speak. Talk a little bit more about that, because one of the things that we know is most people don't continue on and then end up in the NFL
Hmm.
or at the
Understood.
World Cup or wherever, right?
Yeah.
So it's great for sports to be part of their identity, but we have to remember maybe high school is the end of their athletic career, so to speak, or college is the end of their athletic career. So how does plan A, the enhancement package, work for them in developing their identity?
It it starts with the very first, dare I say, module of a little program that I'm running. I kid you not. It's developing that concept of knowing who you are, looking into those values, looking into how those values are really impacting you, how you move about this world right now. Now, once again, we're talking with high school, junior high athletes. They're like, values, what are you talking about? Oh, you must mean, oh, commit. Yeah, pride. No, you know what I mean? It's
Yes.
amazing to see me. I'm like, no, guys, you are different. You are different people within one team. Build it up that way. And so when I really work with my athletes and I help them see that, oh, you can have different, dare I say, values than Jimmy does, and you guys still come together as a team. It's amazing to see those kids say, oh, I like this piece. I want to be this. Word sacrifice comes up a lot when I'm introducing this type of stuff to them. And when they hear the word sacrifice, they're like, whoa, is that what I'm doing right now? I'm like, did you go to the fall formal? No. Did you go to Hoko? No,
Yeah.
I was practicing. Right? I'm like, that's that sacrifice.
Hmm.
So understanding that plan A basically, or learning how to enhance that plan A is like, how can I benefit, or what benefits or what contributes to my plan A?
Hmm.
Some athletes plan A is the sport. Some other athletes plan A is, hey, I want to play my sport. Or should I say, I want to play for my school through my sport. So it's a big one
Yeah.
too. Mhm.
Hmm. So, like with you, you had your sights set on the NFL, right? So you get
Yeah.
there.
Uh-huh.
How was that different for you? Like when you had this built up, this is what I'm going to do, it's what I'm going to do, and then you get there. And then the comparison, even though you probably compared before that,
Yeah.
then you're in the big leagues, right? And
Yes.
so how did that affect you as far as that
Oh,
difference?
first things first, it started with my why. You know, for me, like I said, I grew up in Texas, a little bit in Louisiana. I claim Louisiana, but my parents are originally from Mississippi, and my grandma had a house. I'm kidding you not, I'm 13, 14. I'm walking into my grandma's house. I'm just happy to see my grandma. Hey, grandma, how you doing? Out of nowhere, she screams, "No, baby, stop, slow down. You're gonna fall through." I'm like, what? What you mean fall through? My grandma's house had like a hole in it in the floor. And if I went too far, it was just that big to fall through. And so on that day, I told my grandma, I said, Grandma, look, don't worry about this. I'm gonna build you a house. I'm gonna get to the league, I'm gonna build you a house. Right. So once I got to the NFL, I said that's the first thing on my list. I gotta get my grandma a house. Got my grandma's house. My mom was mad. She didn't get a house. Mom got, I mean, grandma got one though. Right. So grandma got a house built up. And then I'm sitting there like, what's next? I did what I said I was gonna do. So I guess I gotta go play football now. Right. Keep in mind, I still like the sport, but I wasn't really like, that's what I do. This is who I am. And
Mhm.
so I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go play. Up, first injury, second injury, third injury. I'm like, oh my goodness. Third year rolls around, I get an opportunity to play. I'm out here playing, doing good. Fourth year rolls around, I get traded to Seattle. I'm like, okay, I got a chance to play in Jacksonville. I'm a start now. I'm a starter here. I should start in Seattle. No way possible. I got here, Brandon Meebank, Pro Bowler. Michael Bennett, don't know if you ever heard of that name, Pro Bowler. Cliff Averill, Pro Bowler. I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna go sit down. I'm gonna learn.
All right.
So I got the opportunity to really embrace being a true professional, understanding what it takes to play in this NFL from a group of guys that I never thought I would even cross paths. And we've been brothers ever since.
Yeah. That the whole idea of kind of not getting to play as much as you want, that you're in the big leagues when that happened. And there's a lot of kids I talk to who they're like, oh, well, I'm on the wait list, or I'm on the what do they call, the alternate list.
Yep.
And so should I just quit? So what's your advice to the parents? And the parents too are like, well, why am I going to drive an hour, for this where my kid
Uh-huh.
doesn't get to play? Why should they stay on the team? What's your answer to that?
It comes down to that idea of just being a member of something, you know? Right now, coming out of COVID, we were dealing with so much separation. I would join a chess club if I needed to. And I'm not knocking a chess club. I'm like, people, I just want to talk and be around people. Okay. I didn't care. It was just right now, it's like, okay, whoa, whoa, whoa. Parents are investing a lot of money in their sport. And you got to ask yourself, am I seeing my kid as a investment right now? Or is this something that's pure joy for them? That's where we go left or right in most cases.
Yeah, that pure joy that we have to remember for our kids, especially with our little ones, right? Because the stuff
Yes.
starts young now, where they're like, you need to be the best of the best and you're in
Uh-huh.
third grade. We
Uh-huh.
have to remember the joy of it.
And to be honest with you, I may ruffle a couple feathers with this one, but we are out of that, dare I say, participation trophy era. You know, those parents, they know how it was growing up like that. It's not that way in the real world. And so you can see them trying to push that on their kids now. Like, push yourself a little harder. I'm like, man,
Mhm.
it's third grade basketball. Yeah, layup drills afterwards. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
The days of orange slices and everybody gets those trophies is they're gone. And so
Mhm.
helping parents really understand how that impacted them is amazing to do.
So I agree that we shouldn't be giving the trophies to everyone, right? And that we need to, not everybody wins a Super Bowl. Um, so how do you use the opportunity of them playing whatever it is, whatever sport, to build up their character instead of looking at it as being the highest achiever?
That all starts with helping athletes understand what they want out of the sport. For me, high school, a Letterman jacket was everything. If you can get you a Letterman jacket, oh my gosh,
Oh
you
yeah.
you are that person, right? Nowadays, it's like it's frowned upon. I'm like, this is what you want to get. Everyone, all my athletes are like, no, don't wear that. Don't ever bring that up.
Mhm.
So it boils down to what do they really want? What are they really looking to get out of their sport? Just like that.
And so what's the answer to that? What do you think that most kids are looking for in their
It
sports?
it varies. I mean, I had some kids right now, they're just happy to be on the team. Once again, they get to hang out with the team, they get to be a part of something, and they go about that way. Then you have, well, in this particular region, it's a little harder to get. Well, you have UW in your back, right there. But for the most part, it's hard to get those looks that you really want in the Pacific Northwest, primarily in baseball. You got to travel like way out of the Pacific Northwest
Yeah.
to even get a look outside of UW. So understanding where you're at. My tennis clients have a big situation with that as well. They have to always go to Florida or California. So understanding where we're at right here and trying to not necessarily make a promotion for you or heavily promote yourself, but just being able to put yourself in a position that allows you to be seen. So that's a
Mhm.
big thing for them as well.
Yeah. So what you're talking about getting a look, that means like by the scouts kind of, or
Look, once again, this generation, they have a lot more at their
yeah.
disposal, right? So whether it's creating the best, dare I say, outlet for you to get seen. Some people use social media, some people do direct highlight tapes to school, some people use their connections, some people use their alumni status. It's a lot of ways to get into school other than just through, dare I say, sports performance.
Mhm.
I like to show my athletes that the best way to get into school is through education. Get those scholarships, and with the NIL deals now, I'm promoting walking on.
Yeah.
Okay, you walk on. No, don't sign that paper. Walk
Mhm.
on, and then you can travel abroad in the summer. You can study. You can do all of those things because you're not bound to that contract. That, believe it or not, people, that scholarship is
Wow.
a contract. That is a legal contract. That's why you have to wait till you're 18 to sign it.
Mhm.
Okay, so helping them understand that and understanding like, oh wait, I'm getting paid to go to school now. I'm getting paid to play, basically. So they're treating this as like a business. Okay, it's a business. I need
Yeah.
to get as much as I possibly can out of, dare I say, the last 2 years of high school to prepare me for college.
Mhm.
And that's what I set out to do right now with a mission. So,
Yeah,
mhm.
that's great. Okay, we have Dr. Smith. We have a question that came through.
Okay.
How do you suggest teens handle injuries when they need a longer, like 4 to 6 month break surgery? So time flies in middle and high school. Um, so how do you suggest teens handle it? So I assume that the question is like emotionally, like how do they keep that why? How do they keep the drive going? I would
Mhm.
think that's what this is referring to.
Right. During that time, if you ever had I promise you, I tore my Achilles. It was a time I played in Florida, and one of the things the doctors told me was, "Don't sweat." I'm like, "What? I live in Florida." So you have a lot of time of just sitting there to think about what it is you want to do when you get to move again. So I can only imagine someone who's dealing with that 4 to 6 month, dare I say, layoff where they can't do anything. That's the most ideal time to just go crazy on the internet. Find things that you really want to do that will, dare I say, keep your interest for the next 4 to 6 months. For me, I picked up on a lot of, I'm kind of a bookworm a little bit. So for me, I was picking up on the books, I'm not gonna lie, that I skimmed throughout college. I don't know if you high school kids know that how to do that yet, but
Oh
you
yeah.
just read the first two sentences of the paragraph and keep going.
Yep.
This is the time where I really got a chance to go back and say, okay, let's really look at this information. So um, during that time, I learned a lot. I really read, caught up on a lot of reading. And like I said, I went back to school. NFL has a great program in doing that. So if that 4 to 6 months, that'll probably, once again, to answer the question, um, that'll be a good time for you to really explore your ins and outs of why you play the game. Would you still want to play the game after coming back from injury? Because those first 2 months, of course, you're going to be down and out. But then as those, dare I say, progressive reports continue to come back, hey, you're doing good. Hey, you're doing good. Slowly but surely, the athlete finds their motivation again. So definitely.
Right. And it might be the time to go talk to a sports psychologist.
I didn't want to say it, but of course. I want to do a little simple
Yeah,
plug,
maybe.
but of course. And
Actually, let's talk about what you created. The AP, what is
yes,
the AP sports or AP athletes?
yes.
Yes.
So like you said, when I retired from the NFL, I told myself I didn't want to be a coach. I did not want to be standing up in the heat outside. No, I wanted to be in the AC, working with athletes in some unique way. And I kid you not, I've been doing one-on-ones, groups, and all that type of stuff for the past 5 years. And I was just like, you know what? I want to do something that's a little different. I want to do something that's going to benefit an athlete now and help them carry out to wherever they go in life, whether it's continuing to play sports or off the field. And that's why I came up with this thing called AP Athlete. A lot of the high school kids are used to taking AP courses to prepare them for college. This particular course is dedicated and built towards helping athletes prepare for life, right? You're learning, like, once again, things like interpersonal skills, understanding who you are, understanding how to maximize your potential, understanding how to be played much more consistently. And basically, you do all that through this thing called emotional intelligence. So the more you learn about yourself, the more you know about yourself, the more confident you are. Kid you not. I got a quick little story. In Jacksonville one time, we had a rookie, right? So it's not very common to see a rookie come in and just do this. And this was the first time I've ever seen this happen. So one day we were testing vertical max jumps. That's when you jump as high as you possibly can. And everyone else is in like their uniform. I mean, not uniform, their workouts, clothes and stuff like that. Here comes this guy coming in with Timberlands. Now, Sherry, I don't know if you know what Timberlands are, but there's some pretty heavy boots.
Yeah.
And we're looking at this guy. We like, dude, what are you doing, rookie? You tripping right now. Like, God, I didn't know the guy was from New York. That's pretty common to wear up there, right? The guy steps up and just jumps with the Timberlands on, hits his little marker and walks off. It was the highest mark of the day by far. And
Wow.
from that moment on, I said, oh, okay, he does him.
Yeah.
I get it now. I see it now, rookie. You got it. Do you? Right.
Right.
And from that moment on, that just clicked in my head. It resonated. It was like, the more comfortable you are as yourself, the better off you're going to be, no matter where you're at, no matter
Yeah.
you're at the highest level. If you're a rookie, understanding who you are as a person it will take you places.
I like that. Yeah. Be
Mhm.
yourself. You're not trying to be the other person on the team. You're trying to be yourself.
That was an eye opener for me that day.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. Everybody's like, it's not gonna happen. And it's the best one.
No,
Love it.
Timberland, no.
All right. A couple more questions have come in. So what do you do with the kids? Because I have been asking about parents pushing their kids, right?
Mhm.
What do you do if your kid is the over pusher, so to speak? You can see as a parent, they're overdoing it. They're stressed out all the time. They're hard on themselves, comparing themselves. How, as a parent, do you manage that?
As a parent, I would ask, well, it's hard for a parent to ask this, but it could be a beginning, dare I say, a starting point to bring the awareness to it. You can ask the athlete simply, where's all this coming from? You know, it would be shocked to believe, but I'm pretty sure a lot of it probably comes from the idea of just pleasing them. You know, those hand claps meant a lot to them as a younger athlete. So they want to see it again. They want to continue seeing it. And I would love to know what sport exactly it is so I can really try to think about that particular culture. But
Mhm. I'll see if we can get a follow-up on that of
uh-huh.
the sport. Yeah. Okay. So basically what you're saying is a conversation, like to start by asking. Yeah, I'm
It always
seeing
starts
you
with that.
super stressed out every time you go to practice, or when you come home, you seem angry. What's
Uh-huh.
going on with us?
Yep. What's causing all of this to happen? And
Hmm.
more likely the athlete's going to tell you a solid answer. I want to get here. I want to do this. I want to do this. And it's like, okay. I mean, unless you play as a parent, you played in a professional sport, it's kind of tough to be like, yeah, you're on the right track. Keep doing what you're doing. You know,
Yeah.
so it's very tough for a parent.
All right. So I got a follow up. So this is in reference to baseball.
Baseball. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
100%. That sport is known for failure. That's what it's supposed to do. I mean, you make the Hall of Fame with 225 batting average. So it's like you miss 800%.
Right.
Like, whoa. But yes, 100%. That attaboy, that clap, that overall just batting lineup. Oh my gosh, yeah, that it can go on for days. Indeed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Slumps, yips, yeah.
Yeah, that is, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of failure in all the sports, right? But there's some that particularly like baseball, like you said, there's a lot in there.
100. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but baseball is the only sport that keeps track of errors. That's not good. Come on now. There's an error
Yeah.
every play in football.
Well, and if you think about the NFL though, if you're watching it, like they get 4 chances to get to the,
Yeah.
to the fourth down. So obviously there's some failures in there.
What?
And you punt and you keep
Uh-huh.
going. So
Uh-huh.
all right. Okay. All right. Let's see if we've got another one here. And this is kind of maybe along the same lines, but sometimes there's kids who early on in their athletics, they're slower or they're heavier or they don't fit the mold of that sport. And so they kind of decide, I'm going to show everybody. I'm going to, their whole life becomes kind of, instead of the why of it's a personal positive thing, it's the why of I'm just going to prove everybody wrong.
Mhm.
So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's the I don't know. Kobe Bryant, he had that same situation. He played in Italy. As a result of playing in Italy, he was different. He wasn't Kobe Bryant in Italy at that time at a young age. So he had to put a lot of work in. He had to prove others wrong. Now, are we trying to build the next Kobe Bryant here? No. But at the same time, it's like, oh, Kobe went through that. So he's going to go through that a little bit, right? Kobe got a little obsessive with it to the point where he just played basketball year round and forgot his family. But in this particular case, with the adolescent that's doing it right now, it's like, okay, I see you want to prove others wrong. That's a great quote unquote motivator. But what happens when you prove those people wrong? What's next? So getting those kids' minds geared, those gears turning towards that. You can't prove everybody wrong your whole life because then you're gonna be looking for people to prove wrong all the time. And
Yeah.
that's borderline paranoia. But
Yeah. Then you got that chip on your shoulder. Everything is because of that chip. And yeah.
yeah, the chip is cute, but this is gone. It's like, what am I playing for after that? So yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, like you mentioned, you had that kind of this thing of your grandma's house. You're going to get your grandma a house. Some
Uh-huh.
people may be like, yeah, but what does that have to do with the sport, right?
Right.
Well, you were good at it, right?
Uh-huh.
And this was your way to achieve that.
I
So,
was I was good enough to achieve that goal using
mm,
football, right?
yeah.
But once again, if you look at it from a motivational standpoint, is it intrinsic or extrinsic, right? In this case, right now, getting my grandmother a house was external. That's outside,
Mhm.
right? If you want to say it's ego oriented, yes, it's ego oriented. But you have some athletes out there that say, "Hey, I want to get better because I really want to get better at this game," and those are the ones that tend to last forever in the sport. Those
Yeah.
guys tend to stick around forever, and they really have a passion for the sport. Me? No, that wasn't me. No
Mhm.
passion
Yep.
whatsoever. I
Yeah,
understood
and
the
I love
goal.
that. Yeah, you knew about that and you're like,
Yeah,
moving on.
would allow me to
Right.
walk away.
Right, right. Okay, let's see. Um, how do I know if I'm pushing my child too hard, if I'm treating them like an investment
Mhm,
instead of supporting that pure joy that you mentioned?
indeed. What sport are they playing?
Let's see if I can get a response to this.
Uh-huh.
What sports are we talking about here? Somebody can text me,
Ain't
whoever
no
was asking that one.
talking about it. I'll keep it going, no problem. It boils all down to, once again, just talk.
Baseball again.
Yep. Travel teams, I get it.
Yeah.
But yes, it's that idea of just talking to them once again. Because once baseball, travel ball, they know if they're good or not. And if you're investing that type of money into a travel team, that's a lot of money.
Mm,
That's a
yeah.
lot of money.
And time.
Okay. Yes,
Hmm.
coming out of here, you got to fly everywhere. There's no local teams to play
Yeah.
unless you play for perfect and they just go everywhere. But for the most part, athletes are like, oh, Jimmy's better than me. Blake is better than me. I'm not playing this year. I'm just going to travel. So helping your athlete,
Yeah.
once again, talking to them and sitting them down and asking that question of, yo, wow. Of course, they're probably gonna give you an answer that's kind of sugar coated as well, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But
Yeah.
they knew how good they were and where they stood on that team before third game of the season, so
Hmm.
they could talk to you.
Yeah.
That's the right
And I
question.
think that, when I talk to teens, they do, even though parents don't always feel like this, there is a lot of wanting to please their parents and maybe even subconscious at some age, the older ages. But so sometimes I think that identity is so built up around a particular sport and their athletic abilities
Mhm,
that if they are burned out and they do want to quit, they're kind of afraid that my parents are going to be disappointed in me, or
mhm,
I'm not going to know what to do, or I'm not going to then have the team to hang with. So how do you deal with that if you're a teen or a tween or younger and
mhm.
you are kind of like, I'm done, but
Yes,
you have so much built around it?
yes, that's that transitional process, right?
Mhm.
You see a lot of it in the high school kids when it's coming up to their senior year. They know they're done after the football season. I'm getting a lot of that right now. They didn't make it to the playoffs. They don't know what's next. DA, should I go play in the cleat versus cancer game? I'm like, do what you want to do, my guy.
Mhm.
You know, in this particular situation, is helping athletes really see that life after sports is real. You know, right now oh my goodness, right now I'm seeing, well, we all are, we're really seeing that idea of gap year take off. It's like, I need this time to go, quote unquote, find myself. Well, athletes already know who they are, and they don't really have that opportunity to have a gap year. They have to make that decision. Like, am I going to continue playing or am I not? And so you having, let's say 14, 15-year-olds make that decision junior year as opposed to the end of their senior year. I don't want all my 4 years to go of high school to go to waste. So I'm just going to quit now so I can enjoy my senior year. Happens a
Mhm.
lot.
And with those that tend to quit their senior year, what do you see happens to them? Is it a positive or?
They have more time to really embrace that idea of being done with sports, as
Mhm.
opposed to that group of athletes who wait to the last minute, hoping they're going to get that scholarship and it never comes. And so those guys that were waiting for signing day to hit, oh, I may get one after the signing day, and the next thing you know, it's May, and there's no preferred walk on, there's no scholarship for certain. Okay, do I be a walk on now? I think I'm gonna be a walk on. So the best thing about this region, this area, is that they really value education. So these kids have a solid education to fall back on. Whereas if I go 45 minutes south, it's either sports or nothing for those kids. And so they weren't paying attention in the classroom. They didn't care about the classroom. They don't have that, nor do they have the sport. So they're out there on the streets all day,
Yeah.
hilltop. So
Yeah.
indeed.
So sports give them an identity. When they quit that, then their identity is not so great. The other options there.
But whether the east side or the south side, it's more of a purpose. You know, I don't necessarily, I like identity, but I like building an identity. So I try to get away from it a little bit. But it comes to the idea of purpose. Like, what's my purpose for going to school? Those athletes having that title of student athlete means a lot to them. They may not care about the student part too much, but the athlete part is really, for me to be an athlete, I have to be a student, you know? And one of the first questions I always ask my athletes is simply that: are you a student athlete, an athlete student, or an athlete athlete? We have to figure out where you're at to get you where you want to go. So definitely.
Now, what do you think about our competitive athletes who, and this is even for the younger age, this is not just for high school or junior high, where competitive athlete, that's their identity, and all of their time is spent on being that athlete. So things like their social life goes to the wayside. Like they don't invest in those relationships because they say, I don't have time for that.
Yep. I see a lot of that in my tennis athletes. Well, tennis, it is a sport where you constantly travel. You're never home. So you're sacrificing that social time. And sometimes you feel like if I really go out these 2 nights or go to the movies, that's time I could have been hitting, and I get out because of that. Or I got out early in the first round because I didn't practice hard enough. So that concept of sacrifice really creeps in, and getting a solid, healthy balance between solid work and social life or other life.
Do you see, because we're in the competitive arena, do you see that in the long run becomes an issue, that they didn't spend that time on the social aspect of learning those relationship skills and such?
To be honest, if they stay within their sport, no, because then you become a part of that group where everybody's done the same thing. Right. And as you get higher in the sport, it's the same thing. Like no one has a social life, so it's normal. But it's when you're done playing and you try to go get back in the regular world, and they're looking at you like, hi. That's where things change. You had no interaction other than, if you're not speaking tennis, there's nothing you can really have a conversation about. So
that goes back to being well-rounded, right? Like, don't just foster one part of yourself, have that enhancement plan.
Or at least have a go-to,
Right.
some popular culture item, something to go to. Indeed.
Right. Something you can talk to people about. All right. What do you do when your kids complain about going to practice?
That's a tough one because I hated going to practice too, right? But helping them understand what the purpose of it is. We breaking it down to either task or ego. Why do they hate going to practice? They may hate their coach. Sports fine, I just hate my coach. Or in football, a lot of people try to dodge that tackle day. Nobody wants to hit on tackle day. I will come to pregame practice on Thursday, but I do not want to come to practice on Tuesday. So really understanding why they don't want to get out of the car is a great place to start.
So talking to them about it versus, well, you got to go, you have to, that work ethic, you're not going to get better. Instead of going that route, let's talk about why don't you want to go?
It's a thin line between convincing and communicating. It's a thin line.
Yeah.
But unless you just getting them to boot out the car and driving off, it'll be tough. So you just might as well have that talk with them.
Right. Yeah, the convincing, there was a few times in my kids' lives, they're older now, but where they would start complaining, I'm like, hey, if you don't want to go, I don't want to drive you. So, when I said you don't have to go to dance, all of a sudden I didn't hear that anymore because they're like, oh, wait, I do want to go. Yeah. My mom's not making me. Wait a second. That's not what I expected.
Exactly. So, I thought she was going to make me go.
Putting it back on them. Yeah.
Indeed.
Right. Let's see, what else do we have here? What if your kids, if you see potential in your kids, like they're really good at something naturally, right? But they don't have an interest in it.
Hurt your heart, don't it?
Yeah.
that's that one where you allow them to find the game on their own. You know, you watching it on TV and like, oh, you could do that. You know, you're not playing mind games, but
Yeah.
you're slowly starting to introduce it to them as opposed to just pushing them out there and saying, go do this, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Exposure. Yeah. The
yeah.
potential of what it could be. I like that. And then you mentioned the coach, like maybe they don't want to go because of the coach. Let's talk about coaches for a second.
Uh-huh.
So let's say your child has a coach who is just not great for one reason or another. Maybe they pick on your child. Maybe they are just like a drill sergeant, like not a positive experience, right? So
Mhm.
how do you deal with that as a parent where you're letting your kids kind of learn from these situations, but yet sometimes coaches cross the line, you know?
Yeah. Um, for me, I had one of those parents. They would come out of the stands, you know. My dad, nah, he's a military man. But my mom, when somebody hurt her baby or she thought her baby was in harm, she's coming out of those stands. And so keep my mom's like 5 foot, so she's by no means a threat. But seeing those coaches act that way, and it's like, okay, coach, I really want to respect you here. If you're getting to a point where I feel like you're being disrespectful, how can a player respect you? It's only going to be fear. And when it comes time when you need those players the most, they're not going to, dare I say, go to bat for you and play for you because they're afraid of it. They're just going to ball up, and it happens all the time. I kid you not, with Pete ran a real loose ship, but you knew you were excited to come to. I kid you not. I think when I got cut from the Seahawks, I didn't even know I got cut. I was like, so do I come to work tomorrow? It was like, can I still show up? It was one of those situations. It was like, okay. But when I got cut from Chicago, I was like, bye. I don't want to be here anyway. Y'all can have it. Right.
Mhm.
So it's all about understanding who that coach is. If that coach is a military type or just hard guy, you gotta look at your kid and be like, do they need that? Or is it too much? You know? So it's just finding that, once again, a healthy balance.
So how do you approach the coach, or do you talk to someone, or?
Yep. Out of respect, you do it one-on-one quietly, right? You don't want to do a loud show because then you look like the bad person, right? We've all seen those parents. My mom wasn't one of those, luckily, right? But we've all seen those parents that take a little bit too far, and then they look like the bad guy. When we all know this coach is a jerk.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, you're like, coach, look, you're taking it too far, man. You know, and if the kid is really like one of the better players and you pull them from that program, other parents are going to follow suit. Then the coach is going to look even worse. So,
Okay. All right. We've got another one here. Let me read this too. My middle school child has a coach that is actually abusive to the kids on the team, calls them fat, says they have no talent, etc. It's causing them a lot of stress, and it causes me, not me, but the parent, stress as I see my child getting more depressed, more anxious each day, probably each practice. I'm worried about talking with the managers for fear of retribution to my son, and my child is too scared to say anything.
okay, I'm trying to keep myself within myself right now because this is a situation where you need bail money. Okay. If you remove that option out to play, just putting your hands on the coach.
Yeah.
You simply say, is my son or daughter's health, emotional health, worth them staying on this team? If it's not, get them off of there, you know? Or should I say, if it is, get them off of there. If it's not, that's a tough one, you know, because I get it. Some of these programs around here are legit. But if this is middle school and they calling your kid fat and you thinking about putting hands on somebody to protect your child, then that's not the most ideal situation.
Yeah. Is there someone, this is kind of speaking to the school system or the coaching system, that you can talk to above the coach to kind of get support and help on this?
That's a tough one, right? Because you're going over the coach's head.
Yeah.
And if it comes downhill, it's going to keep going. And he's going to find out who said it. It's only a matter of time. Yeah. And once again, if the kid's already feeling like the coach is against him, it's going to feel even worse when it finds out that his mom is now, dare I say, not snitching, but more so reporting. And if mom is reporting and wait a minute, little Jimmy wasn't swimming or doing anything anyway, he's really not going to do it. So, no.
So going over their head is probably not gonna, yeah, like you said, they're gonna be admonished, and then they're gonna be pissed off and maybe even get worse.
Yeah. So, like I
Okay.
said, if you remove the option of fighting, beating the coach up, I would recommend another program, of course.
Yeah. And it sounds like from what they're saying, maybe there's a bunch of kids on the team who are being, so maybe the parents get together and try to get a different coach. If that's a possibility.
Right. Once again, I've seen that happen at like programs where the coach is like the centerpiece. He's never leaving. He or she's never leaving. That's normal. I've seen that before. And that coach has the final say so, but that's a tough one, I'm not gonna say tread lightly. I'll say let it be known, but no.
All right, we've got a few more minutes. So I have one more question, and then we're going to talk about how you support people, because I think it's important for people to know that you exist and you can help. Right. So sometimes when kids are in sports, they have a coach, right? And then the parents kind of become an extra coach. So they might watch the practice, and then after practice is done, the parents say, I noticed this, you did this wrong, you need to work on that. Is that helpful, or is that too much?
Ready for it? It depends. All right. It all depends on the athlete. If the athlete is looking for that type of feedback after every game, match, practice, yes, keep doing what you're doing, right? But it all comes down to communicating with your athlete. If you can get past that, I don't know, they're going to provide you all the answers you need. And getting past that, I don't know, begins with, once again, knowing who they are as a player.
So if they want to receive it, is what you need to know. Is that something they want, or is it something they don't want?
Right.
But
ask them, do you like this? Would you prefer for me to do that? Now, some parents are going to do it regardless. Don't care if they want it or not. But for the most part, if they would have asked that question, then yeah.
Great. Okay. So let's talk about you. So you have a company, and what is the name of it?
Unleash Mental Performance. Hold on.
Unleash, right there. I can see it. Very cool. And so what services do you provide? Yes. Because I think it's important. First of all, I love what you're doing. I think it is so key that we don't just think about performance, but we think about the whole athlete, right? Who they are, what their why is. Just all of that is so important. So yeah, so tell us what you do.
For the most part, it sums down into 3 T's, okay? You have teaching, training, and therapy. And what I mean by training is mental skills training. That's one of the things, one of the big things people come to see me about, mental skills training. But then there's, guess what? There's these other 2 sides of things. Teaching, that's what AP Athlete is all about, helping athletes develop and learn who they are, developing that thing called emotional intelligence and the other intelligences in the world. And then, of course, there's therapy, there's counseling. If athletes really need that, I'm here for them for that. There's anxiety, there's ADHD, there's adjustment disorder, which they're really trying to find a way to just adapt to their surroundings. There's anorexia. That's a big thing in the world of sports. People, self-image, all of those things. So Unleash Mental Performance provides all 3 of those avenues for athletes. I saw somebody put my website in the chat. Feel free to go in there, check it out, people. It's there for you. I just want to be a solid, valuable source where I'm here to serve a underserved population and athletes, definitely adolescent athletes, man. Like I said, had I had this when I was in high school, I'd have been that much better as an athlete. So once again, I don't want another athlete going out here trying to figure this stuff out on their own, and I'm here for them.
I love that. Absolutely love that. I'm so glad that you took the time to be with us tonight. I mean,
glad to be here, man.
I mean, you're so engaging and you have so much wisdom to share with us. And I just love that you are willing to take your time to do this. And you're right, this is a very underserved population. They get a lot of attention, but not the mental health piece. So that is key that we provide that.
Yes.
All right. Okay, and so are you, when you're working with kids, what's the youngest that you work with?
I kid you not, that range is wild. I have 8-year-old, 9-year-olds on my roster right now.
Wow.
Golfers, they go at
Mhm.
it. They take it serious.
Wow.
That's the youngest I think I've ever worked with. Was probably about 8 or 9. So yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right. And are you working with them in person?
Yes, in person.
Okay.
I prefer in person because that connection is there. It makes it amazing. But some parents can't do in person. I have a lot of athletes on the other side of the mountains over here. So
Mhm.
sometimes Zoom is the only way, and we make it work.
All right. Okay. So the first step is to just basically visit your website
Uh-huh.
and contact you that way.
Yes. For the most part, check out the website. I have a free 15-minute meet and greet so we could just get a quick talk, understand so I can get a better understanding of who you are, you know who I am, and we
Mhm.
go from there. So yeah.
Okay.
Make it
And
work.
then your AP athlete, is that something they can access on your website as well?
It'd be better for you to reach out to me right now because
Okay.
uh, enrollment doesn't start until next month, and
Okay.
then it gets rolling in January. So once the enrollment process pops up and it's ready to go, that'll be full go. But until then, we can just meet, emails, and go from there.
Excellent. Great.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, I would love to ask everybody who's here before you leave tonight to put something in the comments to let Dr. Smith know what you've learned tonight and just to thank you and all of that wonderfulness for him. And also, I think you can do reactions. So we can give him a lot of hearts and
I saw
thumbs
them
up and
floating over
stuff.
there. I like them.
Yeah, I love those. If everybody can do that, that would be great for us to give him a big thank you. There we go. We've got a clap. All right, awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And we will be doing a follow-up email so that will have your contact information and everything so
Uh,
people will know how to get in touch with you. And we're going to make this recording available too because people need you for sure.
I am here for you. No problem.
Great, thank you.
All
All
right.
right, thanks so much. And thanks, Juanita High School, for attending as a group. We really
Yeah.
appreciate that and can't wait to hear how that went. So thank you, Dr. Smith. You have a good one.
Have a good one.
Good night.